Hey guys, Matt Beaton here with BuiltRight Industries. Today I'm going to show you the installation of our patented bedside rack system for the 2019 and newer Ford Ranger. Now we've got a kit for the Super Cab as well as the Crew Cab. This happens to be a Crew Cab. The Super Cab kit with the bit longer bed. The front panel is a bit different. So in both of those trucks, the rear panel here is the same panel. And also in both of those cases, the rear panel, the one closest to the tailgate, can be used independently. So if you don't have a need for the full setup on both sides or the front and rear, you can just use the rear panel. The front panel cannot be used independently. So the front panel relies on the rear panel for mounting. We prefer to kind of get trucks, both sides of the bed all set up so that you've got more adjustability as far as adding attachments, clamps, gear, etc. But if you just have a need and you know what you need, certainly we have an option for you there. So really simple installation, no cutting, no drilling, nothing like that. And you're going to get full bedside coverage. So I'm going to go through the parts that are going to come with your kit, as well as the tools that you're going to need to install these. And then we'll go step by step through the installation. Like I said, it's pretty quick. And I'll try and cover any tips or tricks I have as we go along because I've done this quite a few times. So if you have any questions, shoot us an email, give us a call, hit us up in the comments, and we'll do our best to circle back with you as quickly as possible. So let's dig in. All right, so your kit is going to ship in a box. We sell these per side, or actually kind of per panel. So I'm just going to show you the driver's side here. So whatever you order may be a little bit different, but we're going to do the full driver's side. The passenger side installation is just exactly the same. The parts are basically just mirrored. So what your kit should come with is a large rear panel, as well as a smaller front panel. These will both be polybagged like this for protection and shipping. And then you're also going to get a hardware kit. That hardware kit's got hardware. Obviously, it's going to have two CNC machined aluminum anodized blocks, two for each side. And then it's going to have two mounting brackets, again, two for each side, depending on what you ordered. And that's all you're going to need. So let's dig into the tools.
All right, so this is the boring part. You're going to need a 7/16 inch wrench, a 1/2 inch wrench, a 4mm Allen wrench. You're going to need a ratchet, and an extension will be helpful. And lastly, you're going to need a T40 Torx. This could be a bit or a driver, whatever you happen to have, but you will need a T40. And finally, you will need a 3/8 inch socket. So that's it. Let's get going.
So step one is, because we use these as mounting points for the kit, we're going to remove the tie downs. You're going to have one here. You may have one in the center here. And then we're going to have one towards the front that we'll do in a minute. But these are the T40 Torx bolts. So let's go ahead and remove all of those. Now do yourself a favor, make sure you don't lose these tie downs or this hardware. We are going to reuse these bolts, and you'll be able to reinstall the tie down over the panel. I'll make a note of this because it's something that came up during development. This center tie down is not something that all Rangers have. It seems like maybe the earlier ones don't, or excuse me, the early ones do. Might be an opportunity to see if you can pick up one of these tie downs and some of this hardware from your dealer if you want to make it a really nice, clean OEM look installation. But we will include hardware in case you don't have the bolts necessary. So that's just a note. All right, so this is one of my favorite parts of the installation because I like these little machined pieces. But for this, you're going to need a machined CNC block, bolt, one of these channel nuts here, and then this bent bracket. So what we're going to do is assemble this, and then we're going to put it into that hole in the bedside and get it locked into place. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this bracket, I'm going to put a bolt through it, like that. I'm going to put it through our block nut like that. And then I'm going to put this channel nut on there. It doesn't matter which direction you put it on. Put it on enough so that you can still spin it freely above the top, like this. But not so much that it's way up here and you're just going to be kind of fighting yourself once you get it into that hole. So now that we've got this, you can see this is going to slip right into that hole. And then we'll spin it. This is going to lock and it's going to pinch the bedside. just like that. So let's get to it. Now you see how this bolt came out like that? That tells me the strut channel nut is in the slot of this CNC block. You can feel it getting snug there. And we want this bracket to be oriented like that. And then I'm going to snug it up. And then we'll use our 1/2-inch wrench to give it a turn. It's really solid. All right, now is when it gets fun. We're gonna place our panel approximately into place like that. And I like to start with the bolts down at the bottom here because they're about at the center of gravity of the panel, which makes it a little bit easier to lift up into place. Get that one started. We'll get that one started. And we'll go back to this back tie down. All right, so now we've just got to attach this panel to our two brackets. You'll notice the hole in that bracket is oversized so that there's plenty of room for us to work with. Because we left these loose, I can lift things up and get that aligned. It's going to hold it into place. I can sneak this nut in back onto that bolt. That tightened a little bit, and then we'll do the front before we lock everything down. Now that we've got our two mounts in place, we can go ahead and lock these ones down using our 7/16 in the back and our 4mm Allen key, just like that. These don't have to be too tight. It's really just keeping the panel from moving in and out. And then we'll go back and we'll finish tightening our T40 Torx bolts here. If you happen to lose any of the hardware, these would be an M6 thread. This is the location where if you don't have this tie down, we've provided extra hardware for you. Snug this up. We'll move to the front here. All right, so that's this panel. This panel is all fully installed. A quick note for some of you guys that I know are putting auxiliary power back here. We didn't choose to make a cutout here because I know that the location of that is up to you a little bit, and we didn't want to sacrifice too much of the panel. But if you mark out on this panel where you need to trim in order to accommodate your power, there's enough meat around here that you can do that without compromising the panel much. All we ask is that if you've got some exposed steel, you paint that to keep it from corroding, and we will still honor the lifetime warranty of this product. So that we got our rear panel done, let's get to the front. Okay, so the front panel is going to install using the rear tie down back here, and then it's going to attach to our panel up here in these 3 slots using the 3 remaining 1/4-20 bolts. You're not going to need nuts because we have formed, or rather pressed in these threaded inserts into the panels, so you can thread right into these. So let's go ahead and do that. we're going to leave these loose so we can do these front ones. Sometimes those threads will feel a little bit tight. We do mask them during powder coating, but once in a while a little bit of powder gets in there. All right, so now I'm gonna tighten these ones up, and I'm gonna make sure I get this line straight because I'm a little bit of a freak about that. But we've left a little bit of wiggle room. You may not get it perfect the first try. If you'll remember in the rear panel, we had a bit of adjustability, so if this really bothers you, you can keep some of the rear panel bolts loose and then attach these two together like this, perfectly straight before you cinch everything down. All right, so the last thing to note is back here. So this is the clearance for the gas filler. You're only going to see this cut out of the panel on the driver's side. The reason I'm mentioning this is because this is the crew cab truck. In the super crew truck with, the super cab truck with this panel extends that way like another 7 or 8 inches. This cutout seems like it's too big. The reason for that is that we've found that there's evidence of 2 different filler neck locations. It seems like it may be a rear-wheel drive versus 4-wheel drive 4x4 thing, but to be safe, we cut out for both of them. So it's going to appear like this is overcut. That's the reason for it in the Super Cab models. All right, so with that, our installation of the 2019 Plus Ford Ranger bedside rack kit is done. Pretty straightforward. Again, a couple of the tips. If you don't have the center tie down, use the 2 bolts that I didn't show you here that we are going to include to install this panel. If you have the Super Cab, your front panel is a little bit longer and your gas filler nut cutout is a little bit bigger. And the last tip is that the seam between the 2 panels, if it's really important for you to have that perfect, instead of cinching things down on this rear panel before moving to the front, leave it a little bit loose. That way you can get them kind of perfectly situated together before tightening everything down. The other tip that I'll give you is as you're attaching clamps, accessories, high lift mount, whatever it is that you're going to carry, it is easier to do it before you install the panels. The exception to that is we have a product now called MOLLE nuts. If you search for those on our site, MOLLE nuts, it comes in a hardware kit. Those MOLLE nuts are machined stainless steel and passivated blocks that slip into the back of these rectangular features and have a threaded hole in them. They're able to slide back and forth. That's going to allow you to slip these in back without having to hold a tool or a wrench on a nut behind the panel. So your knuckles will thank you if you can swing it on one of those hardware kits. Beyond that, I think that about covers it. If you have any questions, send us an email, give us a call, comment in the comments, send us a Facebook message, Instagram DM. We'll do whatever we can to get back to you as quickly as possible. Thanks for watching.